Okay, hopefully this will be the last. We'll finish up these last problems. This is the last video. All we have left are some parabolas, ellipses, and hyperbolas. So let me first show you number 35. I need to show you, they actually give you the graph of a parabola. Now, even though you have the equations on your formula sheet for parabolas, there's two kinds of equations, because there's two kinds of parabolas. Some parabolas open up or open down. Sometimes they open left or open right. So these kinds of parabolas have one equation, and these kind have a second equation. This is a left or right. The left or right parabolas have this kind of equation. If you look on their formula sheet, y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h, where hk is the vertex. Now this is a kind of problem. If you look here, they give you a bunch of possibilities. So you don't have to actually precisely find the equation of this parabola. Let's just fill in what we know, and as we fill in stuff we know, we may be able to figure out which one of these is correct. So for instance, the vertex, this minus 2, 4, that's like the HK. So I know, you gotta be careful, so 4, so I know right now it's going to be y minus 4 quantity squared equals 4p times x plus 2. Now furthermore, you know also I know, because a parabola opens up in the negative x direction, I don't know what this number is, but I know it's going to be a negative number. So let's see, based upon this stuff so far, if I can start to figure out maybe which equation is correct. Let's first look. I'm going to go look for equations with y minus 4 quantity squared. Let's see which ones have that. Okay, this is not correct. That's y plus 4. Y minus 4, but it's not squared. Y plus 4. Y minus 4 quantity squared. So D is a possibility. And it's also checked to see if it has x plus 2, which it does. So D is definitely a possibility. E, y minus 4, but it's not squared. Y minus 4 squared and x plus 2. F's a possibility. Y plus 4, nope. So you know what? Based upon just looking at y minus 4 squared and x plus 2, I've eliminated all but 2 of these. And now let's look at the fact that I know the number in front of the x minus 2. I don't know what number it is, but I know it's got to be negative. If I compare the two possibilities, look at here, the number here is a 4. The number here is a negative 4. I know that has to be my answer. So I didn't even really have to work up the full equation because it was a multiple choice problem. I could just figure out what I knew and then go start eliminating the ones that I knew that were not correct. Alright, so that's the first parabola problem. Let's see what's next. Number 36. This one's find the equation of the parabola described below. Find the 2 points that define the latus rectum and graph the equation. All right, so what do they tell us? They tell us the vertex, 3, -2, and tell us the focus is 3 - 4. So let's go and graph this. It's always, you have to graph it, because that's going to help you figure things out. So vertex, 3 - 2. So that's my vertex. Focus, 3 - 4. Now the way parabolas work, right? You've got the vertex is like the bottom or the top of the parabola, and the focus is inside the parabola. So just from knowing these 2 points, I know it's going to be something like this. I don't know how wide it's going to be, but it's going to look like that. So this is a parabola that opens down. So once I know it opens down, I can go get the equation of the parabola that opens down. I know it's going to be (4p times y minus k times x minus 8 squared). That's one of my parabola equations, and this is the one for up and down. And I know because it's down, I know this eventually, when I'm all done, that has to be a negative number. So first of all, the h and the k are my vertex. So I can write away y minus k. Now it's -2. So it's going to end up being y plus 2. And, oh. You got to think through this stuff. Yes, y plus 2. And the x is going to be x minus 3 squared. I still have the 4p. Now, the nice thing is this variable p is always the distance between the focus and the vertex. And what's the distance here? It's actually 2. So p is 2. So I put a 2 in here. 4 times 2 is 8. So actually, I have my equation, although I can't forget this factor right here. Since it opens down, I have to go ahead and make that a negative. So actually it's a multiple choice problem, and on there is that equation. Now they ask for the 2 points. This thing called the latus rectum. The latus rectum is what we figure out helps us to graph. So latus rectum is, you go from your focus and you move, in this case, I'm going to move left and right the distance 2p. Since p is 2, 2p is 4. So my focus is right here at 3 - 4. If I move 4 this direction, I end up here at -1, -4. If I move 4 this direction, I end up at like 7, -4. And this helps me to actually draw the correct parabola. So it looks like the 2 latus rectum points are going to be minus 1, minus 4, and 7 minus 4. In other words, if you remember when we went over this, the Latus rectum tells you how wide your parabola is, helps you to graph it. And it's always 2 times each direction you move 2p. So you move 4 to the left, then 4 to the right. And you get these points right here. And then, of course, they want you to graph it, which we've already done. All right, another parabola problem. Now here, they give us an equation. Y plus 4 squared equals 4 x minus 1. And the first thing it asks for is the vertex. Well, the vertex, k is with the y. And remember your signs now. It's like the opposite. So the vertex is hk. 1, negative 4. Matter of fact, maybe we can start graphing this. 1, vertex. The focus. Well, if we look at the equation, the general equation is y minus k squared equals 4p x minus h. So therefore 4p must equal 4. P must be 1. And P is important because P, that tells us how far we go to find the focus, which is what they're asking us. They want to know the focus. That's the second part. Where's the focus? Now when I look at this equation, I should have done this right away. What do we have here? We have, since it's the y squared, this is going to be either left or right. And actually, since this is positive, it's going to be right. So if I got my vertex here, since P is 1, my focus is going to be distance 1 away from the vertex. And since it's a left or right, I know that's the focus. And since the vertex is 1, negative 4, the focus must be 2, negative 4. Pretty straightforward. Now the directrix is you go opposite of the focus, the same distance p. So I'm going to move 1 to the left, and there's a directrix. And this is a vertical line. The equation of that line is going to be y equals 0. So that's your directrix. Whoops. X equals 0. And now if we want to graph the parabola, last thing we do is we need to get the spread. Since P is 1, from the focus, I move a distance 2p, so it's 2, 1, 2, and the distance down 2. So it may look something like that. All right, I think that's all the parabola problems. Now we go on to ellipses. It says find the vertices and the foci for the ellipse. Graph the equation. So they give us Now, if you remember, the equation for an ellipse is like x equals h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Now, in our case, hk is 0, which is like the center. And looks like A is square root of 36, which is 6. And B is 2. So this is going to be, since x is bigger, this is what we call like a left-right ellipse. I can start to graph it. The center is at the origin. I'm going to move 6 to the left, 6 to the right. That's where this A is. And the B tells you how far to go up and down. I'm going to move 2 up and down. So these are my vertices. That's a vertice. And that's a vertice. So this is going to be negative 6, 0. So there's my two vertices. The actual ellipse will look something like this. Now the foci are these points somewhere inside the ellipse. This distance right here is called C. We need to figure out C to figure out the foci. And this is where sometimes I forget. I believe with an ellipse, the equation is C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Well, A squared's 36. B squared's 4. Looks like C squared is 32. So C square root of 32, which is 16 times 2, simplify it, it's 4 square root of 2. So therefore from here, this foci, 4 square root of 2 is, maybe right in here someplace. This point right here, that foci is negative 4 square root of 2, 0. And this foci, it's negative 4 square root of 2, 0. And this one's 4 square root of 2, 0. So there's your two foci. There's the two vertices, and there's the graph. All right, a couple more. Number 39. Here they give us and this is going to be hard to see because here it's so small. They give us a plot of an ellipse, and they want us to come up so well we can see this. Wow. The key is with an ellipse, first the center is the key, and then you have to figure out how far you go up and down and how far you go left and right. Now, looks to me like the center is 5, 0. Looks like when you go up, looks like it goes to 6 and negative 6. So it looks like up and down it moves 6. And then left and right, looks like it's moving 5. So that's important because that determines which kind of equation we're going to use. The up and down is bigger, so that means the equation I use is y minus k squared over a squared plus x minus h squared over b squared. Remember, a is always bigger than b. Since the up and down is bigger, a, in a sense, this is a and this is b. Now the center is 5, 0. 5 is like your h, 0 is like the k. So it's going to be y, whoops, that's actually x. Y minus 0, so it's just going to be y squared over a squared. A is 6, so it's 36, plus x minus h, h is 5, over b squared, b is 5, and this is in fact correct. All right, last problem. A hyperbola problem. Let's just look at the graph. So basically the question is, match the graph to the equation. Now they give us multiple choice. So once again, I may not have to figure out the exact equation, I just have to figure out enough to know. First thing I notice, this is an up or down hyperbola. So I know the equation is going to be y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. The up or down means the y is positive. Now I know the center is 0, 0, so therefore now my equation becomes y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. And I know the distance from the center to the edge of the hyperbola, either direction, is going to be my a. Looks like it's 5. So I know y squared over 25 minus x squared over b squared equals 1. I don't know the b yet, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go look at my choices, and maybe by now I can already figure out the correct answer. I don't have to know everything. So let me go over here and write what I've got so far. I'll write over where we can see it. So far I know I've got y squared over 25 minus x squared over b squared equals 1. First thing I notice is, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't look carefully. If I go back here, it's actually not 5, it's 6. A is 6. So these are all 36. Sorry about that. That's why you have to look at the graphs carefully. So now I'm looking at my choices. I need to have y squared over 36. I've got it here and here, but not here and not here. So I'm down to these. But now I notice y squared over 36 has to be positive. Here it's negative. It can't be this. And I'm already able to decide this is the correct answer. So once again, I didn't have to figure everything out about the equation. Because of its multiple choice, I just had to figure out enough to find the correct answer. All right, so those were the 40 test review problems. Hopefully they'll help you as you prepare for the final exam.